Three, two, one, go. Nah, I'm playing. All right, y'all. Ep.3. Let's get it. What song is that?
I don't know.
You just wrote it?
Yeah.
Banger. All right.
Okay.
All right, we got to start over.
No,
Just
that
tell
was
the
good.
story. What are we waiting for?
So you remember?
No, we got to start over.
So you remember that one time when I was trying to get your attention and we were hanging out with our friends, and granted, our group of friends at that time was just dudes and I was the only girl, and we were at the skate park. We were hanging out, listening to music, kind of skating around, and at that time in my
I was skating around.
HOE phase, I started twerking upside down on the wall and trying to get your attention, and you rode away on your skateboard.
Yeah.
And I was like,
The spirit led me away.
I was like, oh, okay, like this is not the way to go with this guy. He obviously has better intentions than the guys that I have previously tried to pursue.
I was about my father's business.
You were for a
Flee.
while.
Flee. Bruh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was.
But now we're married and we got 3 kids.
Okay,
So
yep.
bring that energy.
Oh my gosh, just throw our business like that out there.
For real. Nah, we'll get it. We'll get there.
I've tamed down since then.
The dating years.
Yeah.
What else?
So about the dating years.
We traveled all over California while we were at Bible college.
We did.
That was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Took the road trip to Colorado. Meet your parents on spring break.
Well, we flew out there and then drove
my
car back.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Flew out there for a couple days, maybe a week.
Mm-hmm.
Met your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Hopped in the little Civic and drove back from Denver to school in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first time seeing the Midwest.
Yeah,
Utah,
that's right.
Nevada, and like parts of California that I hadn't been to. Nevada. Nah, son. Nevada. I'm from Nevada.
I lived in Nevada.
Yeah, nah, Nevada. Okay. People from that state are gonna correct me now. So.
Well, I don't even know if I'm correct. It's just, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyways.
We will see.
The other states that you.
Yeah,
saw
no,
for
that
the
was a
first
good
time.
trip though.
Yeah.
And then we did a lot of traveling after that. I know we talked about that a little bit. Going to Northern California was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Super unexpected because
That was like later on.
Yeah.
In our years.
Yeah. Yeah, we were married when we went to Tahoe, right?
That was right after Canyon. So, 2020.
Nah, we went before that.
Oh. To Lake Tahoe?
Yeah, when I had my little FRS.
Oh, for our baby moon. That was fun. When we were pregnant with our first.
We had a baby moon, but no honeymoon.
Yeah, that's true.
Funny. Yeah, but that was a cool trip. Tahoe's cool. If you've never been, check it out.
Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, but yeah, the dating years, the honeymoon phase for some people.
I mean, I feel like ours lasted maybe
Couple
8 months.
Yeah.
And then ish started getting real.
Yeah.
But also that was a lot of my issues.
Well, both of ours underlying.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's crazy to look back and think about dating and like all the things that you would have done differently. Mm-hmm. And then also all of the ways that we've grown like throughout the years.
Yeah.
And looking back at the people that we were.
You were a completely different person.
I was. And
I was
yeah,
too.
yeah, we're throwing that out there. She said it, not me. But yeah, it's just cool to see the journey. And what advice would you give yourself if you went back to that time?
Mm. Are you asking me that question?
No, it was rhetorical. No, I'm playing. Yeah, I was asking
Okay. I didn't know. I was just making sure before I started to talk.
you. Go in. The people are ready.
What advice I would give myself? I feel like this is like really in my face. I don't know. We'll see. What advice would I give myself when we started dating? But a lot of things. I feel like first and foremost, it would just be like I was also 17 going on 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you do have like a lot of like immaturity at that age. And even though I felt more mature for my age than like the average 17, 18-year-old, I still like, was immature.
Pause on that. I just want to let everybody know. I officially asked her to be my girlfriend on her 18th birthday.
Yeah, because he was 21.
I just want to
21.
clarify that just in case.
I know. He hates when I bring up the fact that I was 17 and he was 21 when we met.
Cause I just don't want people to think I was out there robbing cradles. But she was like that baby that like I wasn't trying to hold, but she would like only stop crying when I held her. not actually, but metaphorically.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty like aggressive.
She was the pursuer.
Yeah, I was. So, I feel like we could get back to the question, but I have like a question. I don't know if it's a question.
She's gonna answer my question with a question. Nah, spill the beans.
No,
All right,
when we talked about the whole like me being the pursuer was because of like where you were at.
Yeah.
I feel like that's good to just like
I'll start off with
too,
that. Yeah,
and
I'll
then
start off with
I
that.
could talk about
For sure. Yeah, so I was at a place to where I went to Bible college in 2014, and I met Elena the following year, so pretty much a year later, and I was at a place to where when I first got to California, I was just kind of out there for like a fresh start and also to kind of get away from feeling stagnant back in Jersey and give myself opportunity because lots of my friends were, in college and I had just automatically pursued a career. So I got a job. I was working at Sears Automotive Center, rest in peace, because they don't exist anymore. And I kind of just had the mentality that like I was in the working class as like a young, fresh out of high school. And I just saw the opportunity to go to California, which we'll go into that, to go to this Bible college. And I think I was at the age to where like there was pressure to like, I seen a lot of young people for the first time in serious relationships and like getting married and things like that. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that's not it. It's crazy because like in different places in the US, I feel like on the West Coast I see a lot of young people getting married.
Yeah.
And it may be different in other regions.
I feel like
I see it out here as well. Yeah, but then I look back in like places like Jersey, New York, it does happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I feel like a lot of people kind of live at home a lot longer. They date a lot longer. They get married. I can't even talk. They get married at older ages or later in
You're
their 20s.
Yeah, so like to clarify, younger couples getting married, getting out the house, all that type of stuff would be more of like your like 19, 20, 21, 22 type young, right?
Yeah. And then like back east, I feel like people wait till like their late 20s, early 30s. They're more like career focused and establishing themselves, and then also the other dynamic of just like living at home longer. Um, so for me, I just kind of was exposed to a different setting when I went out to California.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which either isn't wrong
yeah,
or
nah,
right. It's just different.
yeah, different for sure. So I think for me, it was like this pressure to like find a girlfriend, get a serious relationship going, especially at Bible college. Like,
Yeah.
because there's like the running joke is bridal college, and like girls go there to like find their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
um and for me, I think in the mentality that I was in, I was like, oh, like I gotta like lock down like a good Christian girl and start, a serious relationship and get married and all these things. So I kind of put myself out there, um talking to like, you know
Females, as you used
females.
to
Yeah.
call it.
And I did get to a place to where I felt like God was just kind of like redirecting me, to where, I was meeting with a pastor and trying to focus on like myself, my walk with the Lord. And I just kind of felt God saying like, don't pursue any girls, focus on me, and then when the time's right, like I'll bring her to you. So it was kind of like a one-off situation from the guy like pursuing the female and trying to date, and I was trying to do the opposite. So then I met Elena, and she was like super sparky. I think that's a good word for it.
Sparky.
So like here I am just trying to like stay focused in like the way that I've been growing spiritually, and then also
Go to
growing as a
class.
person.
Yeah.
Um and she comes in hot, and I guess I'll just kind of talk about the way we met. So like we had a friend, I had a friend in California that I hung out with pretty frequently, and um one time I was off with one of my roommates. We were skateboarding. We used to go out and like skate the streets in the area where our campus was. And it was like the one day that I was like, I'm going to go to the cafeteria, which was a different entrance than where our dorm was. So we split up. I went toward the front entrance, and all right, just close the door.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Um, so yeah, so I went toward the front entrance, and as I'm at the light, ready to cross the street to go through the front of the school, Elena's on the other side with one of my friends, Paul. And of course, I'm
Oh,
like,
we're using
wow.
names.
Yeah, and of course, I'm like, wow, like she's gorgeous. I seen her around.
Oh, you did?
Of course. But then everything in me is just like, stay focused, stick to the mission, So I'm like skating across the street, and he's like, hey, she doesn't believe me that we're friends, which that's disrespectful. um,
I'm sorry.
so I'm like, yeah, like this is my boy. And I was just kind of like being sneaky with it, I guess. But I was just like, because I just kept skating. I didn't stop. And I
Yeah.
was just like, what'd you say? Like, y'all want to hang out later? And, yeah, from there, like she had lunch with us, like me and all my boys, at the calf. And pretty much from there, like, I think for the most part, we pretty much, like, she hung out with the group, like, every day from there.
Yeah.
And then,
Because I was trying to get at you.
yeah, so then, like, you know, I was trying to stay focused, but at the same time, trying to figure out, like, what's good with her. And yeah, from there, like, she hit me up on Facebook one night. And
Because I couldn't get his number.
yeah, like, because I didn't ask for the digits for sure. Like, I was like, I need to keep this cordial,
I was so aggressive.
business only. And like, I'm laying in bed one night, and then like my phone dings, and it's her. And I'm just like
how did you find me?
We weren't even friends on Facebook. But yeah, we just started like messaging back and forth on Facebook, and I think we actually met up that night.
Oh yeah.
Was that the night?
Yeah, probably a couple days after. I feel like we had
that's
like
right. Yeah.
group hangouts.
But yeah, so from there, we pretty much just hung out like
And we got in trouble by the security guard because we were out past curfew.
Yeah.
Just talking
on the campus. Yeah. But yeah, we just pretty much kicked it off from there. And then on her 18th birthday,
again,
I asked her to be my girlfriend. We went to Laguna, and I had like this whole thing planned out. It was like a low-key proposal.
No.
It kind of felt like it. I had like the cameras rolling. I got you a little promise ring.
Yeah. It was so cute. It was something I'd always wanted.
Yeah. So we ended up dating from there, and then it was like a whole different type of pressure that came on because again, like, I'm exposed to this new culture of dating. And I'm like, man, like, all right, like, oh, another part was like, I didn't want to date someone for fun, just because I think I was like kind of burnt out at that point from like unstable, like, just like fun dating relationships that had like no
just
purpose behind it. Because like I felt like at that my idea was like, I get emotionally attached to someone, and then we break it off because like there's no like foundation in that relationship. So yeah, I just felt like this whole different type of pressure because I had learned about like a term called courting, to where you're dating with the intents of getting married. And I asked her dad. I actually wrote him a letter. I wrote him an email, I think, like saying that like, I'm so and so. I met your daughter, and I want to court her. Basically, telling him I want to date your daughter with the intentions of marrying her. And I don't think I fully understood what all went into that at that time. But I did feel, again, back to the pressure, like I felt this pressure, like I have to get a job that I could support like two people. I have to start to like prepare myself to like be like this certain type of man that like has a wife and is a leader in his home, and like all of these things again that I didn't understand. And the number one thing for me was just like provision. So like I gotta like go get a job, grind at work, make all this money so that I could give her like this lavish life and like all of these things. And over the course of the next couple of years, like that definitely, like, there was some warfare between me learning like priorities and one thing, that a couple of the things that I never really knew was like conflict resolution. How to keep myself accountable, or having mentors, a thing that I didn't do. Premarital counseling, like all these things. But we dated for like 2 years. Yeah, probably like 2 years. And you want to talk a little bit more about that? Like, It
Yeah.
was intense.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to say is that like some of the pressure that you felt also come came from me, and that came from my parents had gotten married really young, and my mom was 18.
West Coast.
Huh?
I said West Coast.
Yeah. um yeah, my mom was just shy of 18. My dad was 23 or 24, I don't remember. um and so like I was used to having like the like young parent dynamic, and just hearing that, and just kind of like some of the ways my mom had like prepared me for marriage, just like I feel like pumped me up for like getting married. And I also feel like when I was 17, I definitely like idolized marriage, but also I had a lot of brokenness in the sense of like needing male affirmation and male attention and that security in someone else, because I didn't have that security necessarily at home with my dad. And so that took such like there were so many dynamics that took a play in like me like pressuring you, because like I remember we had a conversation in the car, like I don't know if we were like officially dating yet or if we were just like hanging out talking. No, it was in the Civic, so it had to be like after.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like, oh, I want to get married, like, you know, really fast. I don't want to like have a long engagement. I don't want to date for very long, because like we were also like trying to stay pure and like not have sex. And like from what I was encouraged was like, oh, like if you want to have like a quote unquote pure relationship, then that means like you can't date for very long and you can't have like a long engagement. And and I don't necessarily know if I agree with that now, but back then, you know, I was just like, oh, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. So it's like we got to get married quick. And I was like, you know, I really did feel like you were like my person, like you were like my best friend in like a completely different relationship than I
Mind
had
you, she was
ever
talking about
had.
getting married. Like what? Like 2 months after we met? Probably
I
before
I
that.
probably talked about it like
Before we were even dating.
before we were dating.
Yeah, she is like all like talking about like timing for wedding stuff, like all of
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
then again, that just added to my pressure. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
I gotta. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like again, it was a culture shock. It took me by surprise.
Yeah. And so I feel like with that, it did like, I feel like that was one of our like core or root problems, possibly. Um, but, anyways, for me, coming into Bible college, I shared a little bit about this before, but I was, you know, in the place of being, like I said, a lot of male attention, and
Promiscuous
I
girl,
was very
wherever you
promiscuous
are.
and had a little bit of a HOE phase. Um, and
If y'all don't know what that spells, hoeing.
but that's because like, you know, I had issues, and I didn't ever want to label myself this, but I was definitely the girl with daddy issues. And you know, I just thought that being sexual or promiscuous or whatever was like the way to, number one, get a guy's attention, and make a guy like me to be like to stay with me. And I think a lot of that came from my own issues, but also like what I was like listening to and watching. And I feel like a lot of like teenage girls watch a lot of shows with, it's always about dating, it's always about like sleeping with someone, and that I feel like had a heavy influence on me.
Drama.
Yeah. And I so being like that, and that was the reason why I had to finish and graduate from homeschool early, was because I got in trouble for being promiscuous.
You were homeschooled?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know. But yeah, so I, come into Bible college with that mentality, and also, escaping from home. My parents, again, were not doing well. And there was just like a lot of heaviness, and so it was just like an escape for me, and also being around a bunch of dudes.
Sexy dudes.
No, just guys who like were at a Bible college. Like the guys that I messed with at home, like some of them said that they were Christian, but they did not live it. Like there was nothing about them that like was for sure like
That's
a Christian. It's your surface typical Christian.
Yeah, that's how you lock in a Christian shorty.
Yeah.
Like,
Jeez.
yeah, like I go to church with my grandma.
Yeah. I literally ran into a few of those. Yeah. But yeah, so it was just like, oh, like guys here like actually like love Jesus. This is cool. But also it's like I wanted a guy who loved and pursued Jesus for reals, but also I still wanted to be a little bit of a hoe. And so it was just like this, and immaturity, and just there was just so much into it. But yeah, so like coming into us, that was a lot of why like I was so aggressive. And I knew that I liked you from day one, and I was like, I have my eyes set on I can't freaking talk. My eyes set on you.
Yeah.
And I was going to do like everything I could to try to get your attention, because that's what I was used to doing at home. And so like I remember like I would try to make eye contact with you, and you would mean mug me, and I'd be like, oh, this dude really doesn't like me.
Gang gang.
I'm like, guys usually smile back, right? Like, nope, total mean mugging. And I'm like, okay, maybe not. But I was still, still trying to go after it. And, eventually.
I ran and I ran. And then I couldn't run no more.
No. But yeah, no, I think.
How would you go about that differently? Like if you went back?
If I went back, geez, that's a hard question. Because I feel like I'm the type of person, like when I have like my mindset on something, like it doesn't go away. Bro. And I'm still like that.
Babe, we should move the furniture. I like go to the bathroom and come back. She's over there like with the living room just like all rearranged, like couches upside down, everything.
Yeah.
So
so like with that, I feel like that's something like I really would have had to have more self-control in, and accepting of the fact, like, I don't know, because like I don't think you ever expressed to me that I can remember that like you're not dating right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like in your head. So I feel like for me that was an open door. But in a way I would go back and change the way I acted, but also like that comes from number one, acknowledging, accepting, and healing from the brokenness, the trauma that I had gone through at home.
So like asking yourself like if you're in the place to be like pursuing somebody.
Yeah.
In that aspect.
Yeah. So
definitely.
Yeah, not that I would like change like meeting you. Mm-hmm. Because I love you. You're my person. But yeah, I feel like if I could go back, the number one thing I would tell myself is you need to focus on yourself and really dig deep and kind of acknowledge some of the brokenness and sin that's going on in your heart and in your life, and like evaluate why you're acting out like this and why you are so focused on trying to get a male's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because I even had like, and this is not like, I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, I was the hot ish on campus, but like they said, like it is bridal college. I actually didn't know that term going into it.
Because you were that term, bro.
For real. I mean, I didn't think I'd go in to find a husband. I was just trying to get a boyfriend.
For real.
But yeah, so I had talked to like a few other guys, and I liked the attention of that, but I was like, but I want you. And so I don't know where I'm going with that other than needing to focus on myself.
Yeah.
And, I stopped going to class after 3 weeks, but I was also like,
You stopped going to your classes. You came to mine. I just be like, hey, yo, Shorty just pops up in the back of the classroom. I'm like, she wasn't in this class the first couple of classes.
bro, I was like low key a stalker.
Yeah.
That's so
You won.
embarrassing. I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't focused on going to like being at school for class and for what I, initially wanted, which was, I was wanting to go get like a more solid foundation of, my faith and learning more about God. And they also provided a biblical counseling course, which attracted me because I have had the heart for wanting to do counseling ever since I was a teenager. And the semester I started, they only offered the second part of the class, so I couldn't do it. So I think just like I was like, oh well, that's not an option, so like whatever. And I also wasn't good at my homeschool. Like I said, I cheated my way through because I'm not good with I was not good with self-discipline. Well, I still am not. But, and so again, like my focus was just being away from home and being around people and being around guys. So like if I guess for like younger people listening, the relations, you hear this, and it was really hard for me when I was told this, but it's like, like I'm sure you were told this too at that age, like, oh, like don't worry about dating, don't worry about all of that, like just focus on X, Y, and Z. I think, as an adult now, I do really see the benefits and the validity in that encouragement or advice. Because number one, like friendship's like the most important thing of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like my dad telling me that, like, focus on the friendship. And I just like didn't want to hear that because I wanted so badly to have the benefits of a relationship because of my own brokenness and hurt that I needed to work through and heal from. And so I think like you can totally build friendships and all of that like at that age. And if it turns into a relationship, awesome. But just don't force it. And that was me. Like I was very forceful. And didn't let things go naturally.
Yeah, I think that like one of the biggest like deceptions in like the whole dating thing is like I feel like our society and our world and movies and all of that depicts relationships like, it's hard to focus on the friendship because we're so like brainwashed to think that this beautiful relationship is all about love. Like it's all about like this Hollywood, lovey-dovey depiction of love. And wow, what's up,
Okay.
baby? So I think that the biggest misconception in the whole dating realm is that like it has to be like this magical love and this like storybook love that Hollywood and society and the world like puts pressure on through TV shows and through books, and this
Movies.
flawless romantic like story.
Yeah, it's romanticizing.
And that takes completely away the desire to build a foundation through a friendship, really getting to know that person, and then also focusing on the baggage that you bring into the relationship.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me, looking back, I had so much like underlying bad habits, or even just bad, I won't even say bad, but just like deceived thoughts or conceptions of what a relationship was and what I was supposed to do to contribute to the relationship, that I'm like, man, like I didn't realize all of that until I seen the consequences of those things
Yeah.
later down the road. So I feel like building the foundation is super important, getting to know that person, and then
The
also,
good and the bad.
yeah, the good and the bad, which you're never going to go into a relationship to where there is no bad. But learning how to work through those things and learning how to best like serve the other person, allow yourself to grow on one end and allowing them to grow on the other end.
Yeah.
That's huge in that, and just preparing yourself for the time where that fluffy, magical,
Intoxicating.
the butterflies and all of that, it goes away, and you're going to have to confront difficult situations. You're going to have to learn how to work through conflict, and it's not avoiding. That was one of the things that I did so well, was anytime there would be conflict in our relationship, I was like, all right, I'm going to just back off. I'm going to avoid. I'm going to just not talk and just wait for the situation to cool down. And that's not the way to do it,
Yeah, especially when you have someone who's a little hot-headed and has anger issues.
Yeah, and it was like me not talking would just like fuel her anger.
Yeah.
But then I learned that there's definitely like healthy ways and healthy methods to grow through those things. And I would definitely like suggest, don't shortcut counseling and therapy,
Yeah.
because you're so excited to like get married and go into this relationship that's lifelong, and to have like that transition from boyfriend girlfriend to husband wife, and then you shortcut all of the preparation, and you're thinking about like a lifelong relationship. You don't want to shortcut the foundation process of that, because that's the most important part.
Yeah.
And if you do, or if you don't take seriously the therapeutic and the counsel part of going into that relationship, it's going to make things so much harder.
Yeah.
To try to recalibrate, to try to backtrack and deal with things that you could have dealt with from the get-go. And learning those things in the earlier stages of your relationship, being vulnerable with your partner, having healthy resolution and like healthy communication to resolving conflict, and practicing those things, that's going to save yourself and your partner so much heartbreak,
Yeah.
so much so much deception and so much confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Also, projecting the other person's thoughts and feelings without having the healthy communication.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff that just like fuels tension, you
Yeah.
know?
And toxicity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because we definitely did not have an easy go at dating.
Yeah.
And we definitely learned the hard way. But I think, like, with that, even if you did skip that foundational part and skip some of those, like, really important things that you should do, there's always, like, redemption and restoration. And that's, like, a part of our story is, like, even though, like, we skipped a lot of things, we didn't focus on some of the right things. We kind of had like a rough go at dating and a couple years of marriage. Like, even though we're not perfect now and we will never be perfect, but there's been a lot of redemption and restoration in our relationship and ourselves.
Being
Which,
transformed as people
yeah,
separately
yeah,
and bettering the relationship in that aspect, and dealing with a lot of things that we don't typically focus on. We try to sweep under the rug.
yeah. Or we don't even see them because no one's pointed it out to us.
Yeah, and that's what holds us back from like growing.
Yeah,
But I do like you adding in the redemption part of it, because I feel like society again and the world just gives you like the easy out. So many people that just break off their marriage or divorce their marriage because things are difficult. And just to put that out there, this doesn't really apply to abusive
yeah,
situations,
yeah,
or well, yeah, pretty much abusive situations.
of all sorts.
Yeah, verbal, physical,
Emotional.
emotional. But I think that your relationship comes out so much stronger when both parties are able to acknowledge, for one, the part that they play in the heaviness and um in the conflict. And then you're able to, we learned something in like marriage counseling, which is like putting a circle around yourself and then focusing on fixing everybody that's in that circle,
Which is just you.
which is just you. And even if the other person isn't doing that, you'll be surprised how someone is challenged to grow or to change because they're seeing their significant other respond in a different way
Yeah.
than they would typically expect.
And we've been living that. And he's been the one. I've been struggling lately and not very nice and struggling with depression, healing through some brokenness and trauma from, my dad, and healing more so from my parents' divorce. Like, all of that. It's just been a lot of craziness for me. And I've not been very nice. And I've been not the greatest partner. And the
She's
way
about to say a word. I know you.
little B, the way he has responded to me is completely different than what he used to respond, how he used to respond to me. And like, that's basically the gospel, him loving me when I least deserve it, giving me grace when I least deserve it. And it has been so, even if it doesn't seem like it sometimes, it has been so transforming for me. And like, it makes me feel like makes me feel loved, period. Like, you're loving me when I am being pretty mean to you. And it's like, I don't know how to explain it right now, but it is so, like you said, transforming and so healing. And it makes me feel safe for me to be able to like let down my guards and let you in. And that's what me being mean is. It's putting my walls up and not letting him in to help me.
And at the end of the day, like, we're all people. So I think on the receiving end of it, it's important to just focus on seeing through the hurt, seeing through the anger, seeing through the action, emotional responses of the other person. And even if you need to pause before you respond, or even if you need to take a break before you come back together and, try to hash it out, remember your flaws, remember the areas that you failed or fail in, and the grace that you've received in that. And all of us deserve to show each other grace, and to respond in humility, because none of us are perfect, and we all fall short in many, many ways. So I think that showing grace and responding gently and validating the way that the other person feels,
that's huge.
It makes a world of difference. But yeah, you can apply that in any stage of a relationship: dating, marriage, friendships,
family.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think that it just changes the way that we treat each other just as people. And I think that you'd be surprised if you can challenge yourself to just humble yourself for a moment and
take a look inside.
I think that you would be surprised at the way that you see conflict resolved, change. And it's not going to be an overnight thing at all. It could be seasons. It could be months and months. It could be a few weeks. It could be on and off. Day in and day out. But be persistent. Remember your love for that person. And I think that it does a world of difference. But yeah, I'm going to end on that note. Stay tuned for part 2.
For real, there is a part 2
Definitely
for sure.
Gonna have to be a part 2.
I know, that's why I'm stopping myself, because I'm like, if I start talking, it's gonna be like a whole nother thing, and we just need to cap it. So
appreciate y'all.
Alrighty, thanks. Much love.